Hello, welcome back to the academyofworship.org YouTube channel. Happy to see everyone back. I can't see you. We're currently working on a video series of guitar basics, and last time we covered just a kind of a bass clean tone for your guitar, how to get that. We covered some EQ. One thing we didn't do was talk about gear. In continuing with that, we're not going to be talking about gear in this video either, and I wouldn't expect to be talking about gear much at all in any of these. The point of these videos is, again, to listen and to start using the gear that you have and make it sound great. You don't need loads and loads of money, super boutique gear, hand-wired, point-to-point, all the buzzwords to sound good. So, today, what are we talking about? We're talking about one of the holy grails, gain. All the gain! We'll be talking about all the buzzwords. No, we won't really. It's transparent. Ooh, it's warm. It's a little brittle. So today we're going to be talking about gain. And when you talk about gain, there's a few places we have to go before we can really settle on anything. There's going to be a lot of opinions out there. I'm sure you can go to all kinds of other videos and see a million different opinions on gain and gain staging, buzzword, and all those things. Today, though, we're going to be kind of doing two parts. We're going to have the first part is going to be kind of a continuation of the last video of the bass guitar tone that we're using. Reason being is that there's something to be said about a slightly edge of breakup guitar sound as your bass tone. So we'll get to that in a second. The second part will be, of course, adding more gain to the signal that you've already established as your bass tone, whether it's super clean or whether it's a little bit edge of breakup, gained up kind of thing. What do I mean? Let's start with your guitar bass tone being a little bit gainier. It breaks up, it has a little bit more overdrive or distortion on it. Let me stop yapping and show you what I'm talking about. First, we have the guitar tone that we left with. This is the clean bed of tone that has really no breakup on it at all. It doesn't go distorted at all. It's super clean no matter how hard you play. Here we go. This is the bridge pickup. Both pickups. This is the neck pickup. So there's our bass tone. We have that nice clean tone despite my bad playing. We're working from that. Now, the next step is to decide whether you want to just use your gain pedals on that clean tone, which is totally fine, or if we want to use a bass slightly edge of breakup tone. What are the benefits of that? The benefits of having a slightly broken up tone when you're playing is that you get this feel out of your guitar that's a little bit more dynamic, I guess. What does that mean? Well, it means that you take what you just established. If you've already kind of gotten a clean thing dialed up, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Well, all you got to do on most amps is you can just turn them up louder. There's kind of two ways to do this, and one of which is probably a little bit less acceptable in the church culture, which is getting loud, right? If you have a single channel amp and it's like no master volume, it's like volume, tone. If you take that volume and you crank it all the way up or some percentage past that clean tone you have, you'll start hearing it get sweeter. Another buzzword, sorry. It starts breaking up when you hit the guitar nice and hard. You'll notice it get a little bit maybe spongier, it compresses a little bit more, but also if you, again, you have that single volume and there's no master volume, you're gonna get loud. So here's what my amp does when I do that. So this is the level all the way up on the channel I'm using because there's no master volume on this channel. Woo! It's nice and loud. I'm using a fairly low wattage amplifier, which means that even if I dime it and go all the way to 10, it's still bearable. It's not crazy loud. I mean, you're not going to want to play this when people are sleeping in the next room or something. Now, if you have a high wattage amp, you're up in the 50, even 40, even 30 if it's a Vox amplifier. Ooh, I use a name. It'll get loud, really loud. But low wattage amplifiers will stay... You'll notice that it's not breaking up a ton. It's just enough to where if I smack my guitar, it starts to get that little edge on it. Now, if you have another channel on your amp, or if you have a gain knob and a master volume knob, that's when you get into being able to control the amount of gain, like distortion that's happening in the channel. So you'd use your gain knob. As you turn that up, you can regulate your overall volume with your master volume, and that'll give you more and more gain. I'm switching over to a different channel. Now, the volume's going to come down from my amp because I now have a master volume on this particular amp. But it has a gain knob, so I can actually dial in a little bit more grit when I dig in. Now, I have it still pretty light. It's not crazy. And here's what it sounds like. The bridge, and here's the neck. Here's both. Pretty good. It's breaking up more than that sound I had previously. You could go gainier than this. You could get even more gritty if you wanted to by turning up that gain knob more and more. But because we want a good foundation for other tones, we're going to not want to get super crazy distorted, because if I do want to back my volume down and get cleaned up, you can. So here's full bore, full volume. Has that kind of little bit of grit on it, right? If I play lighter, it'll get cleaner. Right? Or if you back the volume off a little bit on your guitar, if you can see it down here, back it just off, I'm like 8, 7. Then you roll it back in. So it gives you somewhere to go. For like first stage, when people start talking about stages of gain, they're literally talking about, right here I have a clean tone, and then a little bit more I've got some grit, and then I've got like a lead tone, a stage 3, where it's like just full bore gain, and where it's lots of sustain and gets real violin-y sounding as far as how much you can squeeze out of the guitar. So when you hear stages, that's what people are talking about. At this point though, we're looking at a bedrock of tone that has a little bit of grit on it, and if I back my volume knob off, it cleans up. So that serves as my maybe level 1 and level 2 stage, depending on what you're going for. I like a little bit of grit. That's my personal preference. Some guitar players want it crystal clear, chimey, no grit at all when you dig in. That was our previous tone. For the rest of this video and this series, my bass tone is going to be based on this slightly gritty tone. Take out of this the fact that there's a bit of grit on my tone to begin with. So anything I'm adding to it in the future is on top of that bedrock. I do encourage you, do both. Try both. If you have effects pedals, you're running into a super clean front end of an amp, and you have it dialed into like our very first sound where it's super clean, and you like that, great. Stick with it. Use it. Maybe dial up a little bit of grit. Run your pedals into that. See how they react. Some pedals are great with a bunch of grit, but some pedals, they may not. So your mileage may vary. Use your ears. That's what this whole thing is about, right? Now we get to add a pedal to the mix. This is our first pedal. Woo! We're going to add a gain pedal. I'm not going to tell you which gain pedal I'm adding. What I will tell you though is that the gain pedal itself is a low to mid gain pedal, meaning it doesn't add a whole bunch of distortion, even fully gained out, meaning like all the way up, but it can boost your amp and kick it up into a whole different realm. It reacts differently with a clean channel than it does with a little bit of dirt, and you'll notice that if you start putting your dirt pedals into a slightly dirty amp, you'll notice a little bit does a lot more than it does if it's a clean amp. Let's go add a pedal to this. It is a gain pedal that is fairly common. What we're going to do is I'm going to, once again, here's my bass, a little bit of grit sound. So again, we have that already a little bit of grit when I dig into the guitar. Now what we get to do is add a pedal. So here's where I have it currently set. Pedals on. That sounds pretty awesome. I have it set, the overdrive on this particular pedal, which is the amount of gain it's adding to the signal, is halfway up. It's at 12 o'clock. My tone is just a little off. It's more like 10 o'clock on the pedal. Most gain pedals have some sort of EQ on them. In this case, it's just a tone knob, so the further Counterclockwise, you rotate it, the warmer it gets, it takes away highs, and the further clockwise you turn it, the more highs it allows through. I have it backed off just a little bit. I personally like a warmer guitar sound, meaning less high end. We don't want it to get muddy and get lost in the mix once we add the whole band to it. There's also a volume on this pedal, which is basically how much volume you're taking away once you turn the pedal on, or how much volume you're adding once you turn the pedal on. I personally like to run my gain pedals in front of my amp a little bit hotter than neutral, meaning it gets a little bit louder, a tiny bit louder. But in the case of a gained up amp like we have here where it's a little bit of grit, you don't notice the jump in volume as much as if it was clean. If you were running into a clean channel and you had, say, your volume slightly higher than it would be if it was off, when you click it on, you'll notice a much larger jump, because what's happening is you're actually boosting the front of your amp with a little bit hotter signal going into it. The amp takes that as just input gain. It doesn't show it as volume as much. One more thing I'd like to talk about as far as gain goes, and that is if you have a boost. Okay, boosts come in a million different forms, and what that means is you're really just hitting it even harder. The pedal I'm using right now has a boost built into it, and it allows you to say how much when you hit that boost button, how much it's boosting that already distorted signal by. So right now I have the boost volume set to noon, just like my overdrive or gain. Here's without the boost. Here's with the boost. Quite a bit more gain. You can really feel that when you're playing. There's all kinds of sustain it adds, and it doesn't get much louder. Like I said, it just gets more. So if you have a pedal like that, then that's what a boost would do for it. Now, some people will have just a straight gain pedal that doesn't have any extra features, like a tone knob, a gain knob, or overdrive knob, and a volume knob. And in front of that, into that pedal, they would run another boost. There's another pedal that all it does is adds volume. That's all it does. They're called clean boosts, or just boost, or volume boost, and it just adds lots of volume. And if you push all that volume into an already gained up pedal, it goes even higher in gain. So that's what a boost can be used for in that case. So you could potentially create this setup with two separate pedals. That's a lot to take in, I know. Especially if you're new to all this guitar stuff, gain and amp settings and all this stuff is all new. For those of you who have dealt with this stuff before, hopefully just hearing this without seeing what I'm using is giving you an idea, or at least some ideas of what you can do if maybe you were doing it one way and you wanted to do it another way, or maybe you already do it this way and you think that I did a horrible job in demonstrating it. Whatever your opinion is, I'd love to hear from you. You can comment below. So yeah, that's it. I hope this was helpful. Leave a comment if it wasn't, or if it was, I'd love to hear from you. Head on over to academyofworship.org. We have a free gift over there for you to check out. Go try this stuff at home and see what I'm talking about. Start playing with this stuff. Start twisting knobs. Start flipping switches. See what it does. Use your ears. That's the important thing. Until next time, I'm Chris with academyofworship.org. Talk to you later.